What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face? But they've been living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape. Poco no mirai wa.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you got you a good stout cup of coffee this morning, because sadly, we've got to talk about some things I think this morning that I don't feel like is being covered. And I know that most of the people in this community, they talk about things that are whimsical, nonsensical, and in the grand scheme of things, really and truly, they just don't matter, right? A couple of, like we did yesterday, talking about a couple of, dickheads that basically, who was trying to be the biggest douche nozzle, right? But sadly, there's some things I think that are going on in this country that is not being talked about, needs to be talked about, and I'm going to apologize to you guys right up front, because we're going to have to talk some politics today. And if politics aren't your thing, I get it. Myself, I used to be heavily into politics, and I lived, ate, breathed, slept politics. And when I was in probably my 20s, early 20s and through my 30s, was very, very politically centered person. But then I came to the realization it really didn't matter a hill of beans, because sadly, both both sides, because we are a two-party nation here in the United States, both sides were horrible. They were basically this cut from the same bolt of cloth, just opposite side of each other, right? Excuse me. So anyway, let's get into it. We'll just rip this Band-Aid off, whatever. We will have a little bit of whimsical stuff before we get into it, so we'll kind of ease into it a little bit here. And these two, looks like we got a cave. I think maybe a woman and a guy here says, "Why is it we never seem to be completely awake?" And the guy says, "Because we live in BC times." What's BC? Before coffee. Exactly. I don't know how people survived before coffee, right? Or tea, or whatever it is that you drink, right, to get you going, right? Exactly, Squatchy. Most accurate cartoon ever. Most accurate cartoon ever. Okay, so let's get into this. This is an aerial picture here. You can see this is from East Palestine, Ohio. Okay, we had a train derailment that happened, and as you can see, of course, it caught on fire. There's explosions. There is, toxic clouds, chemicals that were spilt into water systems. It's bad, right? So this happened on February the 3rd, right? So we are 15 days out, or a little over 2 weeks, right? There is the evacuation order has been lifted. The residents of East Palestine have been allowed to go back into their homes. Okay. The report goes on to say that EPA and the NTS, which is Environmental Protection Agency, and the National Transportation Safety Board, are monitoring things and so forth. So how did this happen? Well, an eastbound 141 car Norfolk Southern train derailed at about 8:54 p.m. on February 3rd after a rail car axle failed from a mechanical defect. The derailment damaged about 50 cars, 11 of which contained hazardous materials. So about a quarter of them had hazardous materials in them. Excuse me. 5 cars contained vinyl chloride, a known carcinogen, which safety crews vented and burned to prevent an explosion. The controlled burn created a massive black plume that initially sparked fears of toxins released into the air. Okay. I don't see how it could not have released toxins. When you burn stuff, right? Particles, toxins are released. Anyway, accountability. EPA will hold Norfolk Southern responsible. East Palestine residents voiced their concerns. Ohio train derailment claims debunked. Ohio train derailment fact check. What's true and what's false? While Norfolk Southern hasn't confirmed the precise route the train took from its departure near the Missouri border in Madison, Illinois, the train picked up a crew in Toledo, Ohio. Any route the train took on its way to Conway, Pennsylvania, would have taken the train through communities with tens of thousands of people. Okay, so no matter which route this thing did take, right? Doesn't matter which way it did, it still was going to go through communities, towns, cities, right? Anyway, you can see here there's sparks of stuff flying off of that. I don't know if you saw that or not. I don't know if there's a way for me to. Okay, it's looping. All right, so you can see that there is sparks of stuff coming off of the right there. See that? There's sparks stuff coming off of the axle of that car, right? I don't know if it was a deal where the bearings in it locked up. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But here you can see we got train cars all the way around. If this was not just here along the track, right? Because when these trains derail, right, the cars and stuff, they go flying everywhere. Okay. Now, a network of streams meandering through roughly 20 miles south connect the immediate area of the derailment to the Ohio River. That's something to keep in mind. Now, I know we have people here in that are not from the United States. We will go more in depth and we will show you. I will show you here in a minute exactly how and why this is such a huge thing. Okay. So a network of streams meandering roughly 20 miles south connect the immediate area of the derailment to the Ohio River. Through the impact appears to be largely contained roughly 3,500 fish spanning 12 common species died in creek. Well, that is I'm gonna just tell you right now that that's nowhere near accurate. The amount of death of just to wildlife, they're not even mentioning pets yet, right? And livestock. Okay. Um, Mary Metz, director of the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, said there doesn't appear to have been an increase in the number of fish or aquatic animals killed since the first few days after the derailment. Okay. We don't have any evidence of non-aquatic species suffering from the derailment, she said. Okay. A chemical plume of butyl, oh boy, how do you say that? Butyl acrylate that made its way to the Ohio River is being monitored on its path downstream. Okay. A chemical plume. Okay. Which means, cloud, a whatever is, they're tracking it. According to Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's office, water tests Thursday showed level of butyl acrylate below 3 parts per million, well below the 560 parts per billion the CDC considers hazardous. The butyl acrylate plume is expected to arrive in Cincinnati sometime this weekend. No traces of vinyl chloride have been detected in the Ohio River. Okay, so as you can see, here is where the wreck occurred. These little gray lines here, guys. I don't know if I can make that. Open image in a new tab. Let's see if I can get it maybe a little bit bigger. No, okay, that's not what I wanted. It's not going to let me do it. Okay. Let's see, can I zoom in here a little bit? Does it make it bigger? Okay. All right. These little gray lines here, guys, these are streams, they're creeks, they're waterways, right? And as you can see, it's all comes in here and it comes down in here and then it hits the Ohio River. Okay, so it's all being fed into the Ohio River. Now, why is this a problem? Okay, the reason why this is a problem is if you look here, if I can zoom in, get off there. Okay. This Ohio River, okay, which is right in here, right? This comes down in here and it hits into other river basins like the Mississippi, the Arkansas, and so forth. And it goes all through the southern and central parts of the United States, like right here, right? Right. So right here, this here is the let's see, hang on, let me get this right. So this is the Mississippi River, which runs right here on the border between Arkansas. This is Mississippi. This is Arkansas. This is the Mississippi River runs all the way down in here, down in through Louisiana and out into the Gulf of Mexico. Right. So as you can see, and not only that, but so the impact on this is going to be monumental. All right. And I'm going to just tell you something right now. I don't look at myself, or I don't think that I'm one of these guys who is necessarily what's the word I'm looking for? I don't feel like I'm not a, conspiracy theorist. I feel like I'm somewhat, I somewhat have a good head on my shoulders, right? Uh, so This here is a video. This was a little Twitter video that was put out that this is a resident. This is one of the streams here, right? That is in Palestine, Ohio. And this young lady, I want you to watch this. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I want you to watch and see what happens. She's got a stone here, or looks like a corner of a brick, maybe cinder block, whatever she tosses. Watch. Now watch. When this water hits, when that brick hits the water, watch what happens. You see these slicks, these chemical slicks, these oil slicks coming up on the, you see this?
Look at
everywhere?
It's all in the bottom of the creek bed.
Exactly. Okay. You see all that? That's a problem. That is a problem. Okay. Why? I'll tell you why this is a problem. Because this gets into a little bit of science. Okay. Because you have water, chemicals, things like that. They have a different density, right? And so these chemicals and stuff, what's happening is they're sinking and it's going into the bottom, right? So the EPA stuff, the EPA and that is telling these people, hey, this is okay. Everything's fine. Does this look okay to you? Because here's the problem. This here is being traversed and going down into, like I said, it's going into the Ohio River Basin. It's then going to it's going to hit into the Mississippi. This is going to impact. It's not just this chemical cloud that's being blown by winds, right, over into other cities, and that's horrible. And my heart goes out to you guys, right? But it's also going to be coming down through the central part of the United States. It's going to be coming down, and it's going in through the water systems, right? This is coming down. 3,500 fish is all they found that have expired, right? They said no impact to livestock or anything, right? Maybe immediately. Long term, we don't know. They're saying, oh, well, the parts per million is below what we believe is safe. Guys, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky here, but I don't think this shit's safe. I don't think this is something that to the wildlife that's in this creek, to the animals that are going to come up to this creek to drink from it. The deer, right? The squirrels, birds, right? It's just okay. So for anybody that might watch this, say, "Oh, well, yeah, but this could be doctored. This could just be somebody that's out here trying to do something, right? That this is just something that." Let's see, which one is it? Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this. This gentleman here is Senator J.D. Vance. Okay. This is where he is. Let's just look it up here. Senator J.D. Vance. Okay. He's a United States Senator, right? He is from, he was born in Middletown, Ohio. So again, this is his constituency, right? This man right here, right? He's a good looking guy, right? I mean, he's a typical Midwestern looking guy, right? All right. So, where's it at here? Let me find that. Okay. What the hell? What did I didn't close that. Please tell me I didn't close that. Okay, hang on a second here. I closed out the damn link. I clicked on the wrong button. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is Senator J.D. Vance, right? He is a U.S. Senator from the state of Ohio, which is where this train wreck occurred, right?
Hey guys, so I'm here at Leslie Run, and there's dead worms and dead fish all throughout this water. So, something I just discovered is that if you scrape the creek bed, it's like chemical is coming out of the ground. Can you come here and let me just show this to people. I don't know if you're going to see this in the camera, but watch this. Just see that chemical pop out of the creek. This is disgusting. And the fact that we have not cleaned up the train crash, the fact that these chemicals are still seeping in the ground is an insult to the people who live in East Palestine. Do not forget these people. We got to keep applying pressure. That's how we're going to fix this problem. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a U.S. senator, guys. All right, this is a U.S. senator. Again, this is where we're fixing to start getting a little bit political, because I'm sorry, we're just going to have to go there. And so I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to say, oh, this is the horrible Democrats, right? Or it is the politicians as a whole. Okay. But with that being said, when something like this happens, whoever is the president of the United States at the time, I'm sorry, to quote Teddy Roosevelt, the buck stops with them, right? That's where everything comes to their plate. Everything is up to them to handle it, period, right? So, guys, we had this train derailment, right? We've covered that. We've shown that they've got a toxic cloud that is moving eastwardly, right? It's moving over to the other states of like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, right? Places like that, right? Places where I have friends that live. Okay, so we've got this toxic cloud that's moving eastwardly. We've got the chemicals in the water line or in the streams and stuff that's heading and going south down through the Ohio River Basin, down into the Mississippi River, down into the Gulf of Mexico. So potentially could affect not just Americans, but it could affect other people across the globe as well, right? But you don't see it being covered, right? We don't see this being talked about. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm fixing to show you something, guys. I don't know about you, but this really kind of got my blood boiling a little bit. So President Biden rejects federal disaster assistance for Ohio town impacted by the toxic train derailment. And here's a report. President Joe Biden's administration rejected requests for federal disaster assistance from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine in response to the train derailment in East Palestine earlier this month. The derailment, which occurred on February 3rd, caused a fire that lasted several days. Officials declined to initiate a controlled release of the chemical to mitigate the risk of explosion. All residents within 1 mile of the crash site were told to evacuate, although they were permitted to return to their homes on February 8th. The FEMA, right? That's what that federal emergency told Ohio that the Biden administration was rejecting its request for federal assistance because the agency said the incident did not qualify. Did not qualify. Okay. Listen, I'm just a simple dude. I'm not a smart man, right? I don't have doctorates and I don't have PhDs and I don't have master's degrees and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not an educated man. But I think if we've got streams that we showed two different incidences where these chemicals were in the streams, one of the incidences was demonstrated by a U.S. senator. How this is in our waterways. We've got reports saying that we got a toxic cloud that's going to go across and affect other cities. I don't know how that doesn't qualify and doesn't meet the standards. Now, if you go out and do some research on this, if you go to YouTube or if you go to Google, if you go to Twitter, whatever, and you type in, East Palestine and whatever, you're going to find some rhetoric. Okay, you're going to find where people are politicizing this, and you'll find reports where they're taking things out of context and stuff. Where you've got people saying, well, the reason why that FEMA and them are not helping Ohioans is because they voted for Trump in the last election and that they're white and this and that's middle class Americans and all this other stuff, right? I don't think that's it. I think this goes a lot deeper than that. Okay. I don't think that this is political in nature, guys. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a deal where because this state voted for one political party, or at least I would hope it's not that petty. Okay. So let's go on. So in this article, it says White House explains why it turned down disaster relief for Ohio. So let's listen to why the Biden administration said that this didn't measure up or meet the standards that required a federal disaster administration to come in and take care of it. It says the Biden administration official said what East Palestine needs is much more expansive than what FEMA can provide. Okay. Says the White House explained why it turned down Ohio Governor Mike DeWitt's request for disaster this week in the aftermath of the derailment of a train hauling toxic chemicals. The Biden administration official told Fox News that has provided extensive assistance to surrounding communities following the chemical release earlier this month in eastern Ohio. However, the official said that the FEMA agency that usually provides relief to communities hit by hurricanes and other natural disasters isn't best equipped to support the state's current needs. The Biden administration is mobilizing a robust multi-agency effort to support the people of East Palestine, Ohio. Since February 3rd, the Environmental Protection Agency has had personnel on the ground, the official told Fox News. FEMA is coordinating with these emergency operations center, working closely with the Ohio Emergency Management System. But what East Palestine needs is much more expansive than what FEMA can provide. Okay. So here's my thoughts on this. Okay. And these are my thoughts. Well, I understand what their logic and their reasoning is, right? Is that FEMA primarily takes care of natural disasters. I get that. I understand that. Okay. And I understand that they have to have people that are more extensive as far as we have to deal with things there that FEMA wouldn't normally deal with, like these chemicals and things like that. I get that, right? Here's what I don't understand. Is it would take time, and maybe time we don't really have, from what I'm seeing from some of these reports, some of these videos that are coming out of Palestine, to get all these coordinated and work together, right? And you've got an agency and organization there that is designed to help people when disasters occur. Although maybe their expertise is natural, I get that. You have families who have been displaced. You have people who need assistance immediately, not a week later, 10 days later, when these other agencies can come in there and maybe do something, right? So I don't understand why FEMA could not have been dispersed or dispatched to there to help with the immediate needs, the immediate needs of some of these families who were displaced from their homes and things of that nature. That I don't understand. I don't understand that logic and reasoning at all. I really, really don't. Now, there's something else that occurred out of this, right? And so they weren't going to send FEMA in. Okay. And then I believe it was like Thursday evening or Friday, sometime during the day, former President Trump said that he was going to travel to Palestine, East Palestine, Ohio, to I guess lend his support, help maybe boost the situation, awareness to the situation, what have you, right? And then all of a sudden, it was announced that FEMA was, in fact, going to be going in, and the head of FEMA actually came in and started doing things. So was that a political response because former President Trump was going in there? I don't know. It is coincidental to me, I feel like, that all of a sudden now they're sending FEMA in after former President Trump said he was, going in. I did find that a little bit interesting. Now, before people start saying, "Oh, he's using Fox News and stuff," well, here's a CNN article, and this one I thought was really interesting. Right, it says East Palestine residents worry rashes, headaches, and other symptoms may be tied to chemicals from the train crash. Oh, you don't say. Of course, they've got a report here, but I want you to see something. So here's a rash that someone was appearing on their arm. But what was more important is I wanted to show here. There's a picture. Look at this poor little baby's hands. This kid's hands. Right. This picture's taken of a young girl. Her mother who goes to what they call it daycare, or not daycare, preschool. She's in a preschool there in East Palestine. Which was in the East Palestine Elementary School, she said. So they said they got the all clear. Okay, it's time. It's safe to go back. Everything's fine. Whatever, right? And then the little girl come home and her hands were itching and burning, and you could see there's definitely some irritation stuff going on. Said that she got another rash when she returned to the school on February the 13th. So, then she said, I did allow my 4-year-old to return to the preschool, which is an East Palestine Elementary School. She went back for 2 days and developed another rash on her hand, starting to complain of itching. So she pulled her back out. She has scheduled a medical appointment with her daughter's doctor in the next weeks to discuss the symptoms and testing options, she said. So, there's still ramifications of this, right? There's, this is not where it's just, people are still complaining about irritations to the eyes. They're complaining about headaches. They're complaining about irritations to the skin and stuff, right? So this is not just one of these deals where, so this one here says other chemicals of concern at the site included phosphogene and hydrogen chloride, which are released when vinyl chloride breaks down, butyl acrylate. I can't even say half this crap. Ethanol glycol, monobutyl ether acetate, and 2-xythyl accelerate. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, all these chemicals can change when they break down or react with other things in the environment, creating a new stew of potential toxins. Let me read that again. All these chemicals can change when they break down or react with other things in the environment, creating a stew of potential toxins. Yeah. And yet residents were given all clear to go back. That's fine. Go on. No problems. You good? You good? No, we don't need to send FEMA in to help you people. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Let's see here. Okay, this is coming from I think it was that NBC News, maybe. Yeah, NBC News says Biden administration vows accountability over train derailment as Ohio senators press for action. Senators Sherrod Brown, a Democrat, and J.D. Vance, a Republican, are both calling. J.D., of course, was the senator we showed just a little bit ago, dragging the stick through the stream, and we saw the chemicals coming up, right? Are both calling for federal resources to be devoted to the disaster. The head of the EPA promised Thursday that the Biden administration would get to the bottom of the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. This month that resulted in a fire and toxic chemical spill affecting residents and wildlife for miles. Yeah. So they're going, we're going to get to the bottom of it. So let's talk about why do you, okay. So yeah, I found this. This was that chemical cloud I was telling you guys about, right? So this is where it started. This little red star here, I don't know if you can see this or not. This is where the derailment occurred. This is the cloud, and this is the projection. This is coming from NOAA, right? So they're tracking this, and this is where it's going. This here, see, so it's going to go, even up into Canada, right? Nova Scotia, which is where this is at right here. So it's not just going, that's what I'm saying. It's not just contained to the U.S., right? This is going to have impact other countries as well. Let's see what else. There was something else here. Okay, yeah, I already covered that. Okay. All right. So why cause this? What is this happening? Okay. Well, here's the problem. Right? So this is not the only incident that's occurred here in the last couple of weeks, right? And we Americans have been told by previous administrations, current administrations, how they're doing all this stuff for infrastructure and how they're doing all this stuff to make things safer for Americans, right? Well, here's the problem. They're not. Our roadways, where you may have different states. The different states are responsible for maintaining, like interstates within the United States. We have a network of interstates that allows Americans to traverse the United States through state highways, through interstate systems. Okay. And you have these state agencies in each one of the 50 states here, the 48 continental states, I'll put it that way. And this big, massive network of interstate stuff, roadways we have, that each state is responsible for maintaining and keeping these roadways up to par. However, you have what's called the NTSB, which is the National Transportation Safety Board. The NTSB is responsible for overseeing the individual states to make sure that these states are keeping their roadways and transportation systems at the levels and standards where they're supposed to be. Okay. We have a railway system, okay, for trains to traverse, not just for hauling supplies and things like what happened there in East Palestine, but we also have a civilian rail system that where people can hop on a train and they can go here, there, wherever across the United States. We also have that as well, right? And then, of course, you've got, Greyhound, and then you got, of course, you have airways that, and you have the different private companies that, like Delta and Southwest and things like that, where you can fly planes. But irrespective, and all of these things, be it Greyhound buses or Amtrak for civilian transportation of trains and what have you, or things like that. NTSB is responsible for all the safety and overview of all these things. Right? It is a federal or agency that oversees these things, and the federal government gives money to these states to maintain and keep these roadways, railways safe, up to standards, up to where they need to be. Now I'm fixing to show you a video that is going to blow your minds, and maybe just watching this might shed a little light on maybe why we're having train derailments. You see this? Look at these rails. This is a railway that is still being in use. You can see the train coming down the tracks, right? Let me mute this down. It's a little bit loud there. We don't need to necessarily hear that. But you see this? Are you seeing this, guys? Look at these rails. You see how the train is just like this? Now stop and think. Stop and think. Do we wonder why? Do we wonder why these trains are derailing? Yeah, I don't think so. I think we have a really good reason why. Okay, so my question is this: if the federal government is funneling money into these states to maintain the quote infrastructure. Remember, if you're an American and if you listen to the different administrations, it doesn't matter if it was the Trump administration prior or if it's the Biden administration now, infrastructure, infrastructure. We keep hearing these things, infrastructure, 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 right? Does that look like we're keeping infrastructure up? Because it sure as the hell doesn't look like me, okay? But listen, guys, that's not all. That was a huge thing we had happen over in East Palestine, Ohio. That's horrible. That's horrible. But we can't just keep it there. Oh, no. Let's go to Arizona. Why? I'll tell you why. The Arizona Department of Public Safety is maintaining a shelter-in-place order to 1 mile perimeter around a hazardous spill of liquid nitric acid on Interstate 10 in Tucson. The crash led to evacuation orders which were lifted Tuesday night, expanded to a 3-mile radius Wednesday morning, and then reduced, authorities said. While crews were attempting to remove the load from the commercial vehicle, gassing occurred. Recovery and mitigation efforts on the hazardous materials experienced temporary setbacks overnight due to weather conditions. Crews have now removed the material from the truck and are utilizing dirt, so they're going to just bury the chemicals, to mitigate further off-gassing. Interstate 10 remains closed in both directions between Kolb and Rita Roads in Tucson, the release added. So let's just watch a little bit of this video on this.
Right now, there's a dangerous situation playing out on a major Arizona interstate. Let's take a closer look. Yesterday, a commercial tractor trailer crashed outside of Tucson, resulting in a nitric acid spill. The driver of the truck died. Crash led to a shelter-in-place order, which was reinstated this morning to give crews more time to remove the hazardous material from the truck.
So that was in Arizona, okay? But if that's not enough for you, let's talk about what just happened in Florida. Oh, yeah. So we've got Ohio, we've got Arizona, and now we have Florida. A massive fire has broke out at a renewable energy plant. EPA advises residents to shelter in place. Hang on a second here. What does Stefan says? Come on. We all know that the main cause of train derailments are kids putting quarters on train tracks. Yeah, that's exactly what causes it. A massive fire broke out at a renewable energy plant in Doral, Florida, and has been burning for over 5 days straight. Okay, this was reported on the 17th, okay, which was yesterday, for over 5 days. Have you guys heard about any of this? I didn't hear about this. Hang on here, my nose is itching. I didn't know. I hadn't seen any of this. Xylee sent this to me because I guess you saw what I was covering this morning. And we're going to talk about disasters and how we're getting screwed. So this here says, man, someone's talking about me. My nose is itching. It says a massive fire broke out at a renewable energy plant in Doral, Florida, and has been burning for over 5 days straight, spreading to multiple floors. The smoke produced is causing enough health risks to issue shelter-in-place advisory. Officials are asking residents near the burning trash plant to stay inside as much as possible as they expect the fire to continue burning for several more days. And let's just take a little look at this. Looks like they've got it several different places this fire is going. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. Look at the black smoke. It's absolutely positively ridiculous. So you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. How do I put this? How do I want to put this? I don't give two rat turds if you've got an R behind your name, if you've got a D behind your name, if you've got an I behind your name. I don't care. Listen to me. I don't care. We have got to start looking inward. We have got to start taking care of the American citizens. We have got to do more to make sure that our railway systems are safe. We've got to do more to make sure that our interstate systems are safe. that our infrastructure, to use y'all's words, are safe and efficient. We cannot continue to send billions, I'm not saying millions, guys, I'm with a B here, billions and billions and billions of dollars to every Tom, Dick, and Harry around the planet when we aren't taking care of our own stuff here inside the United States. We can't do it, guys. I'm sorry. And I understand there are countries out there that have things occur that they need help. And I'm not saying that we can't help them. I'm not saying that we shouldn't help them. But what I am saying, guys, is we cannot just continuously be throwing billions and billions of dollars. And we've got railway systems that look like what I showed you, right? That we've got interstate systems that if you, and I don't know how many of you guys have done any traveling in the United States, but I used to travel all over the United States. I traveled interstate systems because that was my job. And some of these roads are horrific. They're horrific. They're not being maintained. We've got to change. We've got to quit sending money out to everybody, and let's look at trying to fix and take care of our stuff inside first. Because we're rotting from the inside. We may look good on the exterior because we're doing this and we're helping this country and this nation and we're doing this and we're doing all these great things and we look shiny and on the outside. But inside, guys, we're rotting. We're rotting to death. And I'm just tired of it. I'm so disenfranchised with the leadership that we have in this country. Because it's an embarrassment. And honestly, truly, it truly is an embarrassment. And I'm just sick and tired of it. I am just sick and tired of it. So let's see who we got in the chat this morning. Let's interact with chat a little bit. Because luckily, I'm done with all that. We've got rid of negativity stuff. Hey, we got it done in about an hour. So now we get to have fun. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to laugh. And now we're going to end our day with having some fun, right? Because if we don't keep things balanced, guys, if we don't keep things, equaled out like that, where we can have a little, we have to talk about the serious stuff. We have to deal with these things, right? We have to signal boost some of this stuff, right? But then we can have some fun too, because by gosh, if we don't, literally and truthfully, we would go nuts. We'll absolutely positively go nuts, right? All right, so let's see who we got here. We got, let's start here. We got Squatch and Purple Paw Prince, Toxic, Graysicle. Who else we got in here? Miles, Rachel Paparoni, John Bon Zombie, the Joker, Trippy Savage. Who else we got in here? We just got a whole slew of people. Dead Boy. I'm seeing some new names I haven't seen before. So welcome in, guys. I appreciate you tuning in with us this morning. Joker says, y'all dead. Well, I appreciate the sentiment there, Joker. Thank you. Let's see here. Toxic Dome says we're screwed. Yeah, you know what, Toxic? Honestly and truthfully, we are. If we as Americans don't wake up and we don't quit voting a certain particular way because, oh, well, my grandpa voted this way and my mom and dad always voted this way, so I'm going to vote this way too. And we just vote because that's what our family always voted. If we don't quit doing that and actually and truthfully take some time, educate ourselves, look at these people that are running, go out there, research as much as possible, see what they've stood for, how they have voted previously, if that's possible, if they have a voting record, and say, okay, does this person line up with where I want to see our country's going? If they don't, then simple, you just don't vote for them. Or sometimes, which seems to be the case here of recent years, is unfortunately, we have to go to the poll, hold our nose, and vote for the lesser of the two evils. And that's the sad truth of the matter. Anyway, Let's see here. We got Knit Kurt. You almost got me, Knit. We've got Voltage Mike. Who else have we got there? Leroy X. Squatcher says Peepaw 2024. No, Peepaw is not running. One time I actually contemplated running at the local level for political office. I honestly and truthfully I did. And but I didn't because I don't have the time right now with my schedule. But once I retire and I have more free time on my hands, I may actually look at running and probably start off something small at the real basic low level, like for school board, right? Because you get on a school board, hopefully make some implements and you do things to ensure the educational future of our young ones so that they're getting educated and they're getting a as best opportunity as they possibly can to get a good base foundation to go on and do great things. Something like that. I think to me, that is a whole lot more hopefully noble than holding like a state or federal office, because honestly, truthfully, that is just a cesspool that I don't think I would want to wade into, honestly. City council, possibly governor. Hell no, ain't gonna be no governor. I wouldn't want that headache. Good Lord. I tell you, school board members are bad enough. They call your house all hours of the night wanting to gripe and complain. Well, my little Johnny got sent to detention. Why did he get sent to the detention, ma'am? Well, he didn't do anything, ma'am. Now let's be honest. I'm sure little Johnny did something. They just didn't arbitrarily decide to send him to detention. Well, they said that was one thing that used to crack me up. I kid you not, because I worked at public school for like, 12, 13 years, 14 years, whatever it was. Drove a school bus for several of those years. And it never failed me. It never ever failed me. As we went on and, as I was working at schools, whatever, we had, camera systems in everywhere. We had camera systems in the buses. We had camera systems all throughout the school systems and stuff. So that, because the bottom line is, you cannot necessarily always have adult eyes everywhere constantly. So if something happens, we had Big Brother always watching to where we go back on stuff, right? And it never failed. So you'd have a parent get called in because a child had misbehaved in some way, form, or fashion, right? And so you would, the parent would come in and the administration would sit down with the parent and they say, okay, listen, little Johnny, little Susie, whoever it is, they did this and, here's video evidence showing that they did this. And so little Johnny, little Susie, whatever, they're going to be suspended off the bus for 3 days or whatever. Right. And it never failed. Because now mom or dad or whoever, the adult that is responsible for the student is now going to be responsible for having to get that child to school every day, right? So now they're becoming inconvenienced. And so it never failed. Rather than say, I'm sorry, they shouldn't have done that, and I will address this behavior, and I will make sure that little Johnny or little Susan never does this type of behavior ever again to put the risk, other children at risk and stuff, right? Because of distracting the bus driver. I'll never do, whatever. That's not what happened. You know what they say? Well, did you see what this one here did? Did you see what that one did? Why is it that one in trouble? Why is it? They'd always want to deflect from their child to try to minimize what their child was doing and point the direction to somewhere else, right? And it never failed. Never, ever did it fail. It always just amazed me watching these parents try to get out of having their child disciplined. It's just crack. Listen, if I've got any parents out there that are listening to me on this, listen to me, please. As an old broken down old bus driver and as a former school employee, listen, I there's no doubt in my mind that there are times that little Johnny, your little Susan, your little Johnny, whatever. I'm sure that there are times that they got caught up in a situation, and I'm sure they're good kids, right? I have no doubt in my mind. But when they're cold flat busted, don't go in. And they show you the evidence, and they show you the video, and they show you everything that's going on. Don't be one of these parents that say, yeah, but do you see this child over here? No. Take responsibility for your child, for your child's behavior. Discipline them accordingly to what is your beliefs and practices to ensure that your little Johnny or your little Susan doesn't get on there and cause more ruckus and commotions at school. I assure you, those other children are being dealt with as well. But the administration are not going to address that. They're not going to talk to you about that. They cannot, because that's a totally separate, that's not your child, and they can't have those kind of conversations with you, right? I'm just telling you though. Anyway, so it's just, I'm just telling you, just don't be one of those parents, right? Because I'll be honest with you, that's Karen behavior, okay, or Ken, or whatever it is applies to you. That's just not behavior you want to do. Trust me when I tell you this. All right, so let's have some fun. So we've had a little Peepaw story time, so now we'll have some fun. Evidently, we still have a little bit of art war. The little art war maybe is going on a little bit, but I don't know how I feel about this one. Because quite honestly, this has not got Matt in a very compromising position. It's very good art, right? And Kat did a wonderful job. I don't know how accurate this is because I don't believe Matt Pitt is like some sort of comic book hero. I don't know how realistic this is. I'm sure if Matt was here and was in the call with me or was talking to me, I have no doubt in my mind he would say how accurate this really and truly is. It does look badass. Giga Matt, exactly. It's very well drawn. It's a very good art piece, right? Kat did a wonderful job. I'm just saying, I'm not so sure it's real accurate, right? So. Anyway, Graysicle says exactly. My mom went the other way and put me forward for things I didn't do. Oh no. Mishi has seen Matt's face. She says it's accurate. Okay. So maybe the face is accurate, but I don't think he's got these biceps and triceps and quads, and that's what I'm talking about. Maybe, unless maybe he's got exposed to some of these chemicals and stuff, clouds, whatever, and it's mutated into one of these, super people. Maybe that's what's happening here. I don't know. This one here, I'm not so sure about. The Real Beaver Man says, I got anonymously requested to draw Matt Pitt artwork, and I hated every second of it. I don't know. Is Beaver Man an artist? I don't know. Yeah, I know he lost his leg getting into shape. Yeah, I know that, Squatching. Only muscles he has are going off in his fridge. Exactly. What is this? I did not know Beaver Man was an artist, but good for you, I guess. This is right up here with like one of those, and Lord, this version of Matt, he got some thick thighs there, and he's working a pole, so I don't know. Anyway, that makes me a little uncomfortable. Let's see here. What do we got here? D-Max says, I'm sorry, I had to do it. Okay, let's see what did Max have to do here.
Yeah. Oh, there's the lion guy.
Wow, that is a very scary
Yeah,
first.
see what I mean? That's the lion. There you go.
Oh.
Oh.
That is like homemade.
That's serial killer, bro.
Bro,
Then beyond venue.
Sorry, I
That's like some. This is some like Clive Barker shit, bro. This is.
What the?
You are in
you
my
must
basement.
look at my sword. I
the
have
hell?
the power. Okay.
What the hell, Max? What? All right. I'm gonna have to have an intervention with Max. I'm gonna have to have intervention with Max, I'm afraid. What is this? Uh-oh. This is D-Max's daughter / sister. I've got some bad news. Now recording says, since Toxic Piplup's resurrection, your services are no longer required. And Anxiety says, I will hold a ceremony for him on my channel. Did D-Max? What the? Is D-Max in chat? D-Max, are you in chat this morning or are you sleeping in? I need explanations here, sir. Rest in peace, D-Max. I don't know. Guys, can someone give me the 411? Did D-Max get axed? Is that what this is saying here? Did they? I wish Max was. Is Max around? Let me look out here in the Discord. Is he? No, he's not. Damn. Oh. I don't know what happened on this. I'm gonna have to have a conversation with my buddy D-Max. I'm going to find out what's going on. Okay. So we got some news here from Dextro. It says that after March 20th, only Twitter Blue subscribers will be able to use text message two-factor authentication. Twitter Blue subscribers will be able to use text messages as their two-factor authentication method. Other accounts will use an authentication app or security key for 2FA. Learn more here. Oh. Well, I guess they're making some changes to the Twitter. If you have two-factor authentications, you had two eyes, didn't have a chance. D-Max, there, yes, D-Max, put down your freaking Chick-fil-A biscuit. Get in my Discord. I need answers, sir. I need answers right now, sir. Let's wait for D-Max to get in here. Where's that at? Let me pull that back up because I think I closed it out. Yeah. Come on, D-Max. Get in here. You got some explaining to do, sir. Okay. Oh, boy. Okay, give me a moment. Yeah, all right. I'll give you a moment. But time's ticking, sir. Time is ticking. So what do we got here? The Miz hit a half-court shot. Yes, WWE superstar The Miz. This was crazy to not share. All right, so let's take a little look at this, see what happens here.
In front of company.
Okay. All right, so it's sports. I'm not a big sports fan. I guess they had like an all-star game. Oh, hang on. Here's the Maxter. All right, Mr. Max.
Oh, good morning, people.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing, well, I got some bad news last night. For everybody out there in the world, this is D-Max's sister speaking, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, so I've got this pulled up here on the screen here. I don't know if you can, I've got it shared there where you can see. So what happened, Hoss?
Okay. Well, did you watch the stream from last night of Now Recording?
I have not. I got up this morning and we talked about the disasters going on in the United States and how our country's trying to kill us. And
I mean, I don't think any of it's a coincidence personally. I think, there might be something really bad going on just with everything that's been happening. But okay, so in terms of this, what you are seeing right here is you are seeing a machination of the culmination of several things that happened in last night's Now Recording. Now, if one were to want to decipher all of the things that are happening within this very tweet, what one would need to do is they would first need to go over to youtube.com, Now Recording, and they would have to pull it up, right? And they would have to watch that stream. And then maybe, possibly, within the iota of the universe, I'm still waking up, excuse me. They would understand what all that means.
Well, I see it and I will watch it here, but it's a 3 hour and 12-minute stream.
Oh, I know. Why do you think I'm so tired?
Yeah. So it says Mr. Sin Drama, Slug versus Ember Lily.
Okay. Do you want me to break it down for you?
Yes.
Do you really want me to break it down?
Yeah. Fine. Give us a breakdown.
All right, fine. Several things happened last stream. One of which was Mr. Sen came on, and we had a little interview with him. We did a breakdown of a video that Mr. Sen had done, or like a live stream, where he was explaining somebody within his community named Ari who faked her death.
Yes.
And the way that whole thing played out was apparently originally how the story goes is the way that everybody found out about this girl dying was that her daughter, who apparently was I don't remember how old she was supposed to be for the story, but her daughter was like 15 apparently. And so her mother died, and then apparently this 15-year-old got on her Twitter and had the emotional intelligence enough to be able to say, "Hey, everybody on Twitter, my mom died, so her account is blah blah blah." Then later on in the story, it was no longer her daughter, but instead her sister, who apparently was like a drug addict and a few other things. So I was kind of riffing on that for most of the night. Like anytime anything bad would happen to anybody, I would just say like, "Uh-oh, is this your sister speaking?" You know?
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. So then I can't remember at what point, but at some point, Toxic Piplup is back.
Okay.
So I thought we had a pretty good run.
Yeah.
We had a pretty good run with Now Recording, and I know that it's hard because they can't have 6 members, and I mean I'm just the last ad, so it's fine. Like I just did like 8 pages of notes for one of their things, but like it's okay.
You know what, Max? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna do something that I should have done a long time ago. You know what? You know what that is?
No, what is it?
Okay, so here's what it is. I, for the last year, have drugged you kicking and screaming out of your little world that you had built, right, where you were safe and happy and content. You were catching all the little Pokemon and all that kind of stuff. And I drug you back into this cesspool.
You said Pokemon and it reminded me of Toxic Piplup.
Oh, yeah, the little one-eyed penguin, little bastard. So I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. D-Max, you and I are going to sit down and we're going to figure out some sort of a schedule. And I think you and I need to come up with something that you and I can do. It can be like a little podcast, or it can be a little show once a week, or something.
What's funny?
What's that?
It's funny. I don't even disagree. Like that'd be fine. I'd be perfectly happy with that, people. That sounds like a good time. Xylee also tried to snag me up to be her new Flop Tina.
Yeah, because she lost the card, and you are a gay
Exactly.
filmmaker, so
After all, of course.
of
So it would be
course,
a fair
yeah,
trade.
yeah,
No, I mean, well, I'm joking, obviously. Like
sure,
they were very, very nice. I
yeah,
really wouldn't have a big ego of it if they decided to boot me from Now Recording.
yeah,
But just based off what Matt said, last night, because he literally did say like, oh, well, I guess we have 6 members now. So, I mean, I think, I'm like I said, happy to be there. Happy
yeah.
if they don't want me there, or if I can't be there, like I get it.
Well,
But
you
yeah,
know,
I would love to do something with you.
yeah, and we will. I don't know this about a podcast. I know you're busy. I'm busy, but maybe something we could work out. Definitely work out something. But the thing about it is 6 could be a bit much. I get that, but I also know that there are times where they want to go and do things, whatever, and Mitch is not available, or Beavers is not around, or
Right.
toxic. So I don't think
I mean,
necessarily.
listen, people, you don't
Yeah.
got to convince me.
I'm trying to convince the lads, as it were.
I think they're gonna keep me. I think they're
I
gonna
think
keep
so.
me.
I think so. One of the things, Banana and I, when we first started our podcast, Clear as Mud, we were like, okay, did we want to just be the two of us, or did we want to bring in, another person? And we really wanted to kind of have a third wheel. We really did.
Okay.
And I know that's
It looks like my Sundays are gonna be really busy.
well, possibly I'll have to talk to, I can't make these decisions on my own.
Yeah.
because it is a partnership over there.
Yeah.
But, it was just like, we always thought, and honestly and truthfully, we always kind of wanted to have a female third member, to have that female perspective, right, and stuff. But we never could find somebody that really fit and meshed with what we were trying to do. We tried a couple of different ones, and either we really liked them, but the scheduling just wasn't doable or whatever, and that type of thing. But possibly having a well-renowned rather, gay filmmaker may just be the missing cog. I don't know. So I do know that Banana does like you for whatever reason.
I like Banana too.
Yeah. So I'll have to talk Banana, but maybe we can work something out. And again, like I said, a lot of it is scheduling, and
Right.
So but for now, your future with the Now Recording Boys is kind of
I don't know. I like I said, it's like
yeah.
I'm trying not to relive the trauma of last night.
I understand.
You know,
And I'm going to have to listen to this episode, because I tell you right now,
it was a good episode. It was legit. Like I'm
yeah,
not kidding. For everybody
yeah.
out there who hasn't seen it, like go watch it. It actually was really good.
I,
And subscribe with all of your alt accounts to Now Recording,
yeah,
because we're very close to 1,000
they're
subs.
very
So
close to 1,000. Yes, 100%. If any of you guys out there, perchance, the whopping 30 of you guys that are watching me this morning, if any of you guys by chance have not subbed to Now Recording, do yourselves a favor and sub to them, because they are very entertaining. And I'm going to tell you something else. They seem to have a propensity to destroy podcasts, shows, because and I don't think they necessarily do it maliciously, and I don't think they do it intentionally. It's just like if there's people that's kind of having a little bit of a tiff or a little bit of a disagreement, whatever, they bring them on there, and for some reason, people feel comfortable in just letting their laundry out to hang. And when they do, it gets really interesting really fast, because what was that line from, I think it was like The Real World, where it says something about where things get real, or something like that. There was there like a little riff or something like that they did on these two on The Real World series over on MTV.
yeah, I think I remember those commercials, like where things
Yeah.
get real.
Well, things,
Yeah.
that's what happens when they're Now Recording, and they don't
Yeah.
plan them. They don't plan them. It's just, it is truly I don't know. It just happens.
I
right?
don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Not this is not to call out anybody. I just thought this
Yeah.
was like a funny thing that I've witnessed now like a few times.
Yeah.
For instance, we had Ember Lily on and
Yeah.
Slug on,
Oh boy.
because I guess they had some sort of beef, and so
Well,
that happens at some point. And well, so it was funny though because like whenever that happens, I've
yeah.
been I've been audience to that a few times, and
Yeah.
whenever that happens specifically, um, that group seems to like for whatever reason, whenever any of their drama comes up, there's like 16 people that get mentioned in the crossfire of it,
Oh yeah.
where it's just like like my favorite thing is when somebody comes on that two people have beef, and then in order to explain those two people's beef, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
so there was somebody on a live stream, right? And I was playing Hogwarts Legacy with my mic on mute, okay? But I was inside of this group, and somebody in that group, related to the group, the mod of Slug, who was in the call, had something. Somebody said something at some point that made that person mad, and then my step cousin's ex-girlfriend's wife's nephew said, "Hey, that's wrong." And then Ember Lily got upset and then said something. And then Slug got upset. It's like 17 different people have to be talked about, like in order for a story to make sense. So like that's the kind of stuff you get with that recording, and I actually kind of love it. Like the
Oh
Mr.
yeah.
Sen stuff was absolutely hilarious
Well,
because Sen comes on and explains
yeah.
the whole situation further, and it just gets more and more absurd.
I know I listened to an episode that I'm now recording that, and it was just Matt, and I'm not for sure exactly what the particulars of why it was just Matt from the team, but it was Matt, and it was the one where he was talking to I Bully Bullies.
Oh, it was yeah. It was
Yeah.
like that was a pretty recent one. I
Yeah.
loved that episode. I wish that I was there for all of that, but
Yeah,
I was asleep.
it was so weird, right? So I was listening to this, and so they had Mr. Sin on there, and
Yeah.
Steve Delive was brought
Alive.
in.
Yep.
Yeah, brought in by I Bully Bullies because he thought that he was going to take his side and help him against Mr. Sin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing I know, I Bully Bullies is yeeted off the internet because he's sending out Google Docs with allegedly sending out Google documents to Discord servers everywhere that had questionable content. We'll put it that way in there. That has now potentially got him into some legal hot water in his home country. And I'm like,
Right.
How? Huh? And it's Slug again involved in this one. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Slug is literally, he needs to change his name from Slug to Octopus.
Oh, why? I mean, they're both invertebrates. They're both slimy.
Yeah.
What
But,
are you?
okay,
Why an
but-
octopus? Oh, because
uh,
he's got his arms everywhere.
there you go. He's got 8 little tentacles that he's got everywhere.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so, but yeah, and it was like I was watching a episode. I don't watch a lot of Slug's content because Slug is just, he's one of these guys that he is an enigma. He really is an enigma, right? Because
That's a way to put it.
okay, so Slug is going allegedly, I'm going to put all these things allegedly because again, this is Slug. He allegedly is going to school to be in the IT profession. Now, I'm a person who's been in that industry for over 30 years doing it. And so sometimes when I hear him talking about what this, that, whatever else, I'm like, I'm a little bit dubious, shall we say, right? Of his level of expertise.
So if he tried to use you as a reference, you wouldn't go for it?
No, not at all. Not at all. So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this stream the other night that he's doing, and he's got Ember Lily on there, right? Now,
Right.
and so Ember Lily feeds Slug some information, and she says, "Don't say where that came from." And Slug immediately says, "I'm not using that because," and it was a thing from Floptina that and was being tried to go after Xylee with. And I'm like, all right, why would you send Slug anything? and tell him,
Yes.
don't leak where this came from.
There was a point during the whole crossfire between them,
Yeah.
because originally Ember, it was a really funny. I don't want to do the play-by-play because I want people to go watch it. But
yeah, 100%.
But it was really funny though, because in the midst of them kind of like going at each other, at some point I kind of tried to stop them and be like, all right, like, so you guys got to make this easy for me. Who's the good guy here? Because all I hear is you guys going back and forth on this shit and saying like some of the worst stuff that you could say to somebody else. And it's like, I don't care who started it. My whole thing is that like an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Like, you know,
Exactly.
like two wrongs don't make a right. And like, I was saying that at Slug, but you know, I'm sorry, Amber, but like it does apply to you too. It's like, if you're gonna be the person to claim the moral high ground in whatever situation, then you actually have to have it. And even if you are the victim in whatever situation, and you are just going after somebody else, being like, you know, saying terrible things to them, like, again, it's Slug. You should know kind of what you're on about. That's not to say that I think Slug can't change, you know. I think it's possible, but I don't think that, like, you know, but what I'm saying is, like, if you're going to go in, like, somebody had said this at some point during the thing too. It's like, you literally went to the den of vipers. You literally went to 100%. The pit of cobras, and you're very surprised now that you got bit, you know? It's like, that's my point.
You know, the thing about Slug is this, right? So Slug does these things out there that I think are unarguably horrible things, right? He doxes people. He admits to being a doxer. He will dox people's information.
To be fair, Slug argues that he only does that stuff when it's done to him. I don't know if I believe that, but that's
well,
what he
okay. So here's the deal. Again, an eye for an eye leaves both of you blind, right?
I agree. No, I agree. But I'm just saying that's usually what he says.
So he does these unarguably horrible things out here, doing these things, right? And like, okay. To counter that whole argument, he doxed somebody because he, quote unquote, said they were doxing children and was jeopardizing children and things like that, right? So his morals are very flexible, shall we say, when it comes into that area of conversation. But then for some reason, he will go in and get into, for whatever reason, he gets in with someone like BX Bullet. And he gets all this information of all those things that she's doing to try to harm somebody like Tipster. And he turns around and gives all this stuff to Tipster, who he has had some serious beef with in the past. So he will do these randomly good acts, right, to help somebody. And you think, okay, well, maybe Slug is redeemable. But then he'll turn around and he'll do something just the opposite that's horrible again. Right? So I think Slug is truly a chaotic, neutral person. Right?
I think that's a good way to describe it.
He is chaotic. It's whatever each situation is looked at by him in that particular moment, and he deems what is the appropriate thing to do. He does not have a like a lot of people like myself. I have okay, this is a rule. This is a standard. This is a thing that I adhere to. No matter what anyone else does to me, these are some things I will not do. I just won't do them, right? I have that line, if you will, in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
There is no line with Slug. Slug has 0 lines. And he's got a base, and he's grown, he's got a little following and whatever, and good for him. But yeah, and why people go to him and think, oh, I can tell him these things in confidence, and we're good.
It's like,
no.
Did you ever play D&D?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, so like if I said like, it seems like Slug has a really high charisma check or something.
Yes.
Like it's like he can. Yeah, I don't know how he does it, but like he does get people to say things to him. Like, even though they should know that it's Slug and whatever. It is interesting, though. I think it is kind of a chaotic force type of thing, where it's like maybe there's just certain information like that the universe just wants to try to get out there somehow. But for whatever reason, during this conversation, I was reminded of that scene from Hercules where they're introducing Hades, and then the muses are like, he ran the underworld, but the dead were dull and uncouth. He was as mean and was ruthless, and that's the gospel truth. Like, it's just like that to me is like kind of what Slug is. Like, he's just like, he's Hades. He's like bitter and cold, and he's sick and tired of having to live in the dingy underworld, and he wants to get up, but the only way he knows how to do it is to do some really underhanded shit or something. It's like, because I keep on hearing people, including Ember Lily, say this at some point, and I guess Slug does want this because he had even said as much in the stream too. He wants his redemption arc. He wants to be a good boy. He doesn't want to do the swatting or I'm sorry, not swatting. He doesn't want to do the doxing or any of that stuff anymore. It's just that, like, then he goes on and says, but I got mad, so I just had to. And it's like, well, Slug, like, come on, man. Like, this is my fascination now with all of this, is just like, what?
And
like, it's just so outside of how I would think about things. Like, oh man, I'm mad, I'm gonna dox somebody. Like, I would just go take a walk.
But to your point about his being able to disarm people, right, and to maneuver himself into a trusted, what do you call it?
Well, the last line of that is, he had a plan to shake things up, and that's the gospel truth. Like, that's Slug. It totally is.
Do you know where my first introduction to Slug came from?
No, where?
Have a Seat with Chris Hansen.
Oh?
You don't know this? You don't know this lore about Slug?
I don't.
Okay.
I do not.
You know who Chris Hansen is, right? Have a Seat, Predator Hunter, that whole thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on here. I got a donation here.
Ooh.
What does it say? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't a donation. It was I'm sorry. Someone subbed to the channel. Thanks for subscribing there.
Toxic Dome, how dare you call me out for looking like the Onceler, sir? I can't take that. He said, he asked me if I could sing, how bad could I possibly be?
Yeah, how bad could I possibly be?
That's funny. Anyway.
So Chris Hansen, of course, he lost, the To Catch a Predator, and that whole that whole series ended, right? So about 2 years ago, I think it was at this point, he decided to start a YouTube channel. And he started doing YouTube shows, live streams and stuff, and he started looking into a character by the name of Onision.
Right.
And so he had some ups and downs with some people that he brought into his circle. There's a whole story. There's content for days to watch about this. Nicholas Diorio covered it. John Swan did like a 3-part series on it. Which is still pretty good, even though John Swan's a kind of a character within himself.
Yeah.
But
Steve DeLive made a video about, or Steve DeLive, excuse me, made a video about Slug as well that I was recommended at some point.
Yeah. But anyway, somehow, I don't know how, but this guy Slug, who had basically 0 followers at the time, I mean, he's like me. He had nothing really, right? Somehow he convinced Chris Hansen that he was like this super hacker dude, and that he was going to get all this information on Onision. These videos and stuff are still, I think, up on Chris Hansen's website, YouTube site, where you can hear Slug talk about how, and he goes on about how I'm never going to quit Onision. I'm going to get. I mean, he just goes into this whole riff. Like I'm like, and the stuff he's talking about on there, and this I'm like, that's when I said, this guy doesn't know an IP from a DNS. What the hell is he talking about? And I was like, okay, all right.
I just like, it's just so, like I said, it's like, it is like he just rolls really high charisma checks or something. Like it's like, I don't know. Maybe, well, the one thing I will say about Slug too is that he's got a pretty, like, his voice is unique. I don't know if it's good, but like it's unique. It's unique in the sense that like you there's something about it that you kind of want to like listen to. Like it's got that kind of like pull to it. and he talks like he is a talker. Like this guy can go and go and go and go, and it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to. And honestly, too, like from everything that I've seen, even with the bullshit debates that he gets in, like he's he's got a decent head on his shoulders too. Like he can at least riff with people and make it look like he's winning the debate. So like I don't know, maybe it was just that Chris Hansen just saw something in him and was like, oh well, I guess it makes a lot of sense, like put him up on here and see what happens.
Chris Hansen is an idiot, but that's beside the point. But like in case in point, this last, he had a dust stuff. He really got upset with Slug got really upset with Matt, right? And I mean, he really goes off on Matt, right? I mean, he's pissed. But you would not know he was pissed because his cadence, his tone, nothing is it's all the same. There's no emotion there, right?
The only difference between a neutral Slug and an angry Slug is how much he's cursing or telling that person and their family to die, or like making up scenarios where that person or their family dies, or threatening a dox, I guess. I don't know.
It's almost like his voice is kind of like almost it's mesmerizing, right? He gets in, he has this cadence and he has this inflection that there is a little inflection there in his voice, right? And it's almost like when he starts doing it, it's almost like the old, the sirens from the sea, right? How they would mesmerize the sailors and stuff. And I think that's what he does. I think he mesmerizes.
I wonder if this is going to be an ego boost to Slug. Like it's just because I agree. I was thinking more of the Futurama Hypnotoad. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But and here's the thing about it. I mean, Slug, I really don't interact with Slug because of he does do some really good things. I'm like, good for you, Slug. I commend you.
Yeah.
Great job. But then he turns right around, and any goodwill or anything that he builds up in this part of the internet, community, whatever, that he builds up with us, we're like, okay, Slug good, pat Slug on the head. He turns around and then he does something that's just stupid. We're like,
well,
oh, nope.
Peepaw, I know you're not a big anime guy. Do you know what Dragon Ball Z is?
I am familiar with the show. I think my sons used to watch that a little bit. Yeah.
Do you know the character Vegeta?
No.
Okay, Vegeta's the spiky-haired one that looks angry all the time.
Okay.
The reason why I bring him up is because in the anime, or in the manga too, Vegeta's originally introduced as a villain, right? He's like the super powerful villain from this other planet, and he's like a bad guy, right? And he exists as a bad guy for maybe the first 4 arcs of Dragon Ball. Yeah. And then he gets eventually back to Earth after going to like a different planet and fighting like a big giant weird like mutant looking dude. Okay. He comes back and he's got problems. He's got chips on his shoulders, but eventually over time, the main character Goku and the rest of the Z fighters in the show like break their way into his heart and he becomes a good guy. Now at some and Vegeta has pride as a Saiyan warrior. He has unbelievable amounts of pride and he won't let it go. So it's like anytime anybody slights him or anything happens like that, he's going to go after the person with everything that he's got because that's just what Vegeta is, right? So at some point in the series, a magical wizard comes along and basically puts a magical spell on Vegeta to make him believe that he was a bad guy again. But we come to find out that actually that's bullshit, and the magical wizard did put a spell on him, but Vegeta is more powerful than that spell. And the only reason why Vegeta is acting like a bad guy is because he mourns for the days where he was a bad guy, and he wants to be able to have that level of power again. And I think that's basically what's going on with Slug. I think that Slug understands that he has this particular niche within the community where he can act in bad faith and do bad things and maybe even get some decent results for it in the meantime. Not to condone it, not to say it's a good thing, but just to say that, like, hey, sometimes in order to get some types of things, you do have to kind of break the rules. Maybe Slug is intelligent enough to be able to understand that, and maybe he's caught in this weird zone of saying, I want to be a good guy, I want to be able to interact with cool people like Peepaw or D-Max or whoever else, I want to be able to go on their shows, I want to be able to have that limelight in that kind of way, but I don't want to necessarily lose the fangs and the viper and the venom that I have with being able to do all of this stuff.
I
What do
think
you
that
think?
I think that's probably a fairly decent analogy. The thing about a lot of people, it's a power thing, right? Because
Right.
in Slug's mind, I think he thinks people fear him because the information he may be able to ascertain on them, their docs and things like that, and so they worry about pissing Slug off and having him come at them with that vitriol, right? And he likes that, right? Because that's a dopamine fix for him, right? So, but you can also get the same dopamine by doing something good and giving somebody and helping somebody and giving them information to help them with their battle or with whatever. Th- you know but I can see where having people fear you might be a little bit more of a high than the other.
Yeah. I mean, like I
So
said, he rules the underworld. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I think he's got a plan to shake things up. And
Well,
if my advice to Slug, if he's listening to this,
yeah.
would be perhaps it is better to be in the zone that you're in, but doing a little bit better and trying to just keep your head out of things. Like,
Yeah.
I think that like if Slug does have some sort of redemption path, I think that it's going to take time, and the only way that you're going to be able to prove that you are on that good path is just an amount of time that you can stay out of trouble, or situations and scenarios where doing necessarily the wrong thing is justified in some ways. I don't think doxing is ever justified. But leaking information, that type of thing,
Yeah.
sometimes that is justified. So, yeah. Slug needs a
I would.
cell arc, basically.
I I don't know. I
I'm forgiving. Like I'll give it to
I
you.
am.
I'm a naive man.
Yeah.
I see the good in everybody, and I think that like I like redemption arcs in my stories. I
Yeah.
like it when somebody who's of a particular ilk and has been kind of placed there, whether by circumstance or whether by bad choices. I like it when people like can come out of that. That to me is a very like uplifting sort of a thing. So I want that for Slug or anybody. Salvo, I don't care who it is. Like I would love that for people, but I also understand that it's very hard and people can't necessarily change, and you can't expect a snake to cuddle you
Yeah.
like a puppy, you know. So that's why I keep my arms reach with Slug, and I hope that he understands that too. I think he does from brief conversations that we've had just in passing on different things. I think he gets
Yeah.
where I'm at with him, and I think like I said, I think he gets it. I think that's why he has this want to be a good boy, seemingly. I mean, that's what he says.
I will say this. I too 100% firmly believe that the door should always be opened up for the vast majority of people that are on the internet anyway, to allow them
Yeah.
to come back through that door and to redeem themselves.
Second chances are important,
They're extremely important.
and they don't
But
exist on the internet. It
they
sucks.
have to redeem themselves with actions. There's no
Yeah.
way in where I'm at in my whatever world, words cannot redeem you with me.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
they are a starting point. They are a point of where okay, you have a discussion. Okay, the door is open through words. I would I admit that, but your actions and your deeds have to match up with what you're saying. And if your words and your deeds do not mesh, then there's no redemption. There's no way for you, for me anyway, to come back and for me to have anything to do with you. Doesn't mean that you can't exist. Doesn't mean that you can't go do your thing. Do it. Just know that I'm not going to be a part of it, and I'm not going to support you, and I'm not going to have anything to do with you. And
Yeah. It's actions.
more importantly, what you also will need to be aware of is my eyes will constantly be on you, waiting, because you will mess up. And when you do, then that's when you will, for lack of a better word, that's when the videos get made. That's when the expose comes again. And more than likely, that's when the door gets slammed shut and there will be no door open ever again.
My
So
my dad, I love my dad, and
yeah,
he's given me a few pieces of advice. Both my parents, I don't know if other parents do this, but like
yeah,
my parents really love idioms. They really love like sayings, those
sure.
types of things. And one of the things that my dad always said, which is not necessarily like a saying, but it's just something I've always kind of kept with me,
Yeah.
is that the measure of a hero is the ability to put up with shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be the good guy, you've got to deal with endless amounts of bullshit coming at you, and you've got to give nothing back. You've
Yeah.
just got to take it all on your shoulders, and you've just got to keep running, keep walking towards whatever destination it is. So, like, again, that's why I had brought up in all of that, like,
Yeah.
if you really want to be the hero of this story or whatever story, you cannot be the person who is calling names. You can't be the person that's saying that you want somebody to die or you want somebody's family member to die. It doesn't matter if they've said that to you. It doesn't
Yep.
matter. If you are the hero, it doesn't matter. Because it's like Batman. It doesn't matter how bad the things get with the villain. It doesn't matter how much they threaten him personally, his loved ones, like people, innocents. Like, he's not going to kill someone. That's his line.
Yeah.
As a hero, you have to have your line.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you're not defining that and you're saying like all this outrageous, terrible shit to people, even if they've said it to you first, it doesn't matter. You're not the hero. People aren't going to look at you as the hero. And by the way, too, you've dug yourself now down so deep in a ditch that people are just going to expect that level from you.
Yeah.
So it's like the moment that you actually start trying to crawl your way out of it is all of the things that we're talking about, where it's not, getting into calling people names or not getting into like doing that. Like, you can jab at people, you can make fun, you can make jokes. It's not to say you got to be a saint, but just don't threaten somebody's kids dying or something. Like, for God's sake.
I always told my sons growing up, I said, the difference between, to me, but being a good person and being a bad person is this. I said, a good person will always do the right and moral thing, irregardless if anyone's watching you or not. It's just that simple.
Yes. It's not do you pick up the litter and put it in the trash can when there's a pretty girl watching.
Yes.
Is do you pick up the litter and put it in the trash can when nobody's watching?
Yeah. Or if
you gotta it's something you prove to yourself, not something you prove to the world.
Exactly. That that's the thing. In heroes, we have this idealistic what a hero is, right? Comic book heroes and things like that, right? But there are heroes around us every day that do things, and you naturally
And they're invisible.
Cops and firemen and
No, well, them too. But
they are heroes. But what about the old gentleman who's like 80 years old, and every month or whatever, however often he goes and he donates blood. Every time that he can donate blood, he goes and donates blood. That's a hero. Why? Because he's giving of himself to prolong the life and help somebody else in a time of need. And he'll never know it, and that person will never know it. But just selfless little acts that things that we can, and we can all be heroes. I mean, it's something as simple as you see somebody that's a little bit in a hard way. And I'm gonna tell you something. This is something that really gripes me or really kind of chase me, right? So you'll be watching a video, right? And and this is like a really big thing now. I've seen, because I've watched a lot of YouTube shorts here recently.
You got an addiction, people. You got to put the phone down.
No, it's not an addiction. It's just that we try to do a thing over on Dave's streams where we'll watch 2-3 little shorts, just kind of little comic things to react to, right? And stuff, right? And
so you're just getting, I get it. Yeah,
it's just, it's research things, but it is it is addictive. Don't miss, because it's just like TikTok or any of the rest of these things, right? You start watching, you start scrolling, and then the next, and then because it's just little things, right?
Right. It's easy to fall into it.
But here's a trend I've seen. You have YouTuber X. YouTuber X comes up to some small business or something, and they'll say, "Hey, mainly usually it's like a street vendor of some sort of food or whatever, right? And they'll say, or a small business go, hey, I'm really hungry. Can you, fix me something or whatever? And they say, yeah. And they say, well, I don't have any money. And so these people who are the salt of the earth type people, well, that's okay, no problem. You'll catch me next time, and they'll fix them a sandwich or whatever.
Oh, I know where this is going.
And then they'll fix them a sandwich, or whatever, and then they'll turn around and give them like a few $1,000s or something.
Yeah,
to reward
like
them
a
for
show
their
of
kindness.
goodwill.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. If you want to do that because you've been blessed and you have the resources and the finances to do things for these people who are struggling, right? Because we're coming through this on the other side of this pandemic, and all these small business stuff struggle during that time, and you've been blessed and you want to give that blessings to them. Kudos for you. Put away your damn camera, quit recording that shit, and just do it.
I agree. No, those videos make me so angry because it's like well, first of all, I'm okay. So let me get this straight. I'm to believe that all of those are 100% real. I'm going to say that like some of them are real because I think some of them with the reactions that people have, it's like they would have to be very good actors in order to react that way. But that being said, yeah, I totally agree with you. Those because I binge those videos at some point. They come up on my feed every once in a while now, or two, and now I just can't because I can't stomach it because it was the same thing. Like remember back in the day when I think it was Joey Salads. Didn't he make a video where he faked giving a homeless person like $1,000 or something?
Probably.
Like that was like
that was a thing that went through. Yeah, these prank.
Yeah, there was like a bunch of people started doing that kind of thing, and I guess this is like the shorts form of it. Even if it's real, it's hard because like I like charity. I prefer charity over taxes. I think that it makes more sense. But at the same time, you're right. Like it's not this virtuous thing that you're doing for somebody. It's you're morally grandstanding. Like and you're not standing on anything good,
Yeah.
Because like you said, like these people are legitimately in a bad way and you're going to use their, I don't know, man. It just feels gross. It's like, again, if I were that person, if I had a bunch of money, I would just go and I would buy their stuff. And then I would be like, here's a really massive tip, like people who are affluent just leave really big tips,
and I've seen these IRL streamers too, right? They'll go into a restaurant, they'll order a meal, whatever, and they say, "Hey, chat," and they use their chat to get what kind of a donation to give and things like that, right? And so they'll bless some wait staff or whatever and give them like some crazy amount of a tip or whatever, right? Is that different than just the person making a little short or things like that? Is that different? Maybe a little bit. Like Mr. Beast. Okay, Mr. Beast just did a big video, right? He got a lot of heat because he paid for, was it like 1,000 people, right, to have cataract surgery and other surgeries.
It wasn't cardiac surgery?
Yeah, it wasn't cardiac. It wasn't cardiac.
Little joker.
Little joker. Yeah, I know. And then he turned around and gave another like $100,000, whatever it was, so that another 1,000 people across the globe would be able to receive this surgery as well, right? So is that grandstanding? Is Mr. Beast doing that and whatever? Yes and no. Okay. Doing videos and stuff like that draws views to his channel, which in turn allows him to go and make these deals with these companies, brand deals, where he gets more money that he then turns around and gives away, right? It allows him to hire more people to do bigger projects, whatever. I think it is safe to say, like with someone like Mr. Beast, he is truly being philanthropic, and he is giving his money away. Does he get clout? Does he get benefits from that? Yes. But I feel like, or it seems like to me, that he turns around and uses that and parlays that into where he gives away to even more people, right?
It would be, I mean, yeah, I think that people wouldn't see him as good as he is if he even had
Yeah.
one little tiny like drama or something. I
Yeah.
think that would be the moment everybody flips on him and goes, "Wait a minute, this content's really exploitive."
Yeah.
You know, because like I've thought that about Mr. Beast for a while. There is really not much of a difference between the shorts that you're talking about and what
Yeah.
Mr. Beast does. It's hard though, because like, at the same time, like we both do agree that like charity is a good thing, and it doesn't really necessarily matter where it's coming from. Like, but the intent, I guess, behind it matters. And what you know what it is, I guess what we're speaking to is the fact that it's just kind of like it's societal poison in a way for people to see this type of content, because it I don't know, it just gives people a weird warped sense of like what the world is like, or so it's because it's reality television is basically what's being
Sure.
sold within these little things, within these little moments, you know. Like it's a good moment and we can all be happy for the person in, you know, who got the money and everything, who's getting the help, but it's just I don't know, man. I don't know how to like describe like my problem with it, and I'm trying not to just be like
The
I'm not
only
jealous,
yeah,
you know.
the only
It's like I can't describe the feeling.
yeah, the only gripe or complaint that I ever really truly kind of had against any of the Mr. Beast videos, right, was when he was doing these videos and his entourage around him, right, were the beneficiaries of this windfall of money or a new house or a new car or things like that, right? The people around him, versus just strangers out in the community or wherever, you know, the thing was, you know, going on. That was the only thing to me that was a little bit grandstandy, if you will, right? If you were one, you know, if you've got a buddy or a coworker or whatever that you're wanting to do something like this, right? If you had the money, whatever, to do this for them, and you want to do it, great, do it. But why do you film it? Right? That was my only, I guess, negative thing. And the argument can be made, and I wouldn't really argue too much or push back too hard on this. Well, yeah, but by doing that, again, more eyes, more subscribers, bigger brand deals allows him to
Yeah,
do
it's more
bigger,
money to be able
more
to give people. Yeah.
outward, right? And I wouldn't, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't argue too hardly about it. But if I had anything to negative to say, or if I had any criticism, really more than anything, as I guess I would say, is when he does these videos and it is you know, and it's focusing in on his quote friends and or employees, and he's giving them whatever it is, right? You know, money, cars, house, whatever it
Right.
is, right? That would be the only criticism, is if you were going to do something like that, I get it, whatever, fine, good for you, but don't record it.
Yeah,
And
there's no
but
reason to try to
you
yeah.
know, but you know, giving this, you know, returning, you know, a person with limited or no sight vision again, I I support that, right? Buying
Yeah.
out a used car lot and giving away cars to people who are down and out and need vehicles, for all for that. Going in and buying out an entire grocery store to turn around and go and fill up food banks. Hey, 100% you've got my support on things like that, right? No
Right.
problem whatsoever. But just that just seemed a little self-serving, I guess.
It
But you know, here's the thing too.
yeah.
If I was in his position and I'd had the success that he has had, and I had people around me, could the argument be made that, yeah, I'm going to give this person a house, or I'm going to give this person a car or whatever the deal is, and film it to better turn around and parlay that in to be able to do more for other people? Okay, yeah, I can see the argument, and
I
like
don't
I
know,
said,
man.
I wouldn't push too hard on it, but you know,
Yeah, to be honest, like I'm thinking about it because I'm trying, because the way my brain works with these types of things, or I'm trying to think of things morally, it's
mhm,
very helpful for me to think of like analogies,
yeah,
which is why I often try to go to analogies when I'm explaining things. So I'm thinking of a scenario in my brain where, okay, like you know, I'm going to assume something about you people. I'm going to
yeah,
assume that you want to see a cure for cancer, okay?
sure,
Because everybody wants to see a cure for cancer, right? And I'm
yeah,
thinking to myself, like, What if there was a scientist who said, guys, I have it. I am going to make a cure for cancer. I know in 2 years' time, I am going to complete this cure and it will cure cancer.
Yeah.
But I need support. And I need you guys to watch my live streams where I do the entire process of me making this miracle drug to cure cancer. And my question would be, is it morally wrong for that guy in that circumstance to do a live stream where he, maybe even has to like experiment on people in order to be like, not in a like a morally bad way. Like obviously everybody's consensual, whatever, it's fine. But like he has to do these streams in order to make this cure for cancer. Like I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'd just be happy that the guy's curing cancer, right? So it's like I hate to say it, but we might just be salty bitches here.
And that
you know what I mean?
Like
like
that's what I'm saying. That's like I'm saying. I 100% because it's it's like I don't know. It's okay. So
it's hard. It's a weird feeling. Because I know exactly what you're saying, and I feel exactly the same way. But I can't. Like I cannot articulate why it is that I feel like this is honestly seriously mask off here. I don't know what it is, but there's a reason why I don't watch Mr. Beast content. That's just outside the fact that I don't really love that type of content anyway. Like the Try Guys style kind of like shot, the way that it's like more, it's like halfway corporate, halfway not. Like for instance, like the boy that you brought up on stream. I don't know. I can't remember if it was yesterday, or the day before. We were talking the guys with the hotel and then they got into a beef or whatever. That type of content, not a fan of it. But for some reason with Mr. Beast in particular, I get a very weird feeling about. I don't know what it is, but I get a weird gut feeling that something's not right here. Like something with this cat is up, I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but it's like a look in his eye or something. Like there's a Mr. Beast burger right down the street from me, literally like a block away. I've never been to it because I have this weird gut feeling whenever I'm around it.
Yeah. So you're saying the cynical side of you is like, okay, when is this other shoe dropping? Right.
I just don't. Yeah, it's like it's something about him. Like it just feels like it's always a weird one when somebody's too perfect. It's always a weird one when it's like, okay, but what's your angle here? Like, I don't know. Again, maybe that's my cynical side, like you said, but
I think this day and age is we look at people and we say, okay, could somebody really be that wholesome and that altruistic, right? We that just whatever, right? And so, it's just like, people constantly say, oh, Peepaw's wholesome. Peaceball is this, Peepaw's that. No, I'm not. Don't tout me as some sort of, no. I'm just a grumpy old dude that has a little bit of wisdom that I love to share with people. Why? Because I love to hear myself talk. Don't misconstrue who I am. Do I want to do some good things in this community? And do I, am I going to do some, give away some stuff and do some philanthropic things yes, I have intentions of giving away stuff because I don't have a need in it, but I understand something. If I had if I was in a position to where I was, just starting out in life, 100%, I would be taking the money, using it for myself without a doubt, and would never bat an eye otherwise. But I'm fortunate and been, I guess lucky enough, blessed, and had enough forethought that I, as I worked, I put away, money for savings and stuff to where now where I'm getting ready to retire, I just don't, money's not a thing for me anymore. It's not something that I'm seeking and desiring for, to survive anymore. Right. And that's where I'm at in my life. And I'm very glad and thankful that I am, because now I'm like, okay, now I get to have fun. Right. Now I get to do things to pass that on. Right. And that's my full intention. But
I have a lot of respect for people who, when they meet their own own means, and then they go above that, they have the ability to be able to give to people, and then they choose to, but they do it, like silently or without really any like fanfare to it. Like that's, I think, what as a society, that's the objective good guy. Like that's the objective, like, wow, look at that. That is a Bruce that because that's like Bruce Wayne. You know, that's like Bruce Wayne doesn't make a charity and then like, you know, co-opt a newspaper into talking about the charity. He just makes the charity and then the newspaper ends up covering it. You know, like that's the way things are supposed to go. We're in this weird zone where now people are like, you know, doing all sorts of I'm sorry. I don't know why. I get these weird feelings in my brain sometimes. There's something I want to bring up with you. Do you mind if we go on a little bit of a tangent? Because this is kind of related, but not.
Tangent away.
Okay. I can't find the channel, but let me explain. Let me let me set the picture here. Because I went down the rabbit hole on some shorts at some point too. About several months ago, this is before I got really back involved with like commentary space.
Yeah.
I found this channel, and okay, as far as I can understand, this channel is operated by a mother of an autistic woman. And tell me if I'm going too weird or too far, right?
No.
But like this woman makes shorts of her, like, and I say autistic, like she's very, like she's, I don't know how to use the spectrum terminology because Bo Black's kind of confused me on one of the Dead on Dave things, so I won't say that. She's very impaired. She I don't know what's wrong with her, but she's very impaired.
Okay, so let me ask you, is the woman who is on the spectrum, is she able to verbally communicate?
From what I remember, not really. Like, it's more grunts and just more general face kind of things.
Yeah, and so the person probably has very limited fine motor skills. So things of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Like,
yes, so that would.
The woman said she was autistic, so that's why I say that. I mean, it very well could be like severe cerebral palsy or something like that. Like, so unfortunate situation, right? But this comes up in my feed, and these like. It's a video account. Like I said, it's a video account, I believe, put up by the mother of this girl who has autism. And there's a lot of videos of them just doing like things, like things that other people do on like TikTok, like different trends and stuff. Like they're trying their thing, but it's like a very much older lady dealing with her daughter who's impaired.
Adult child, right?
Yes, adult child who's impaired. And here's the weirdest thing about this account. And I want to find this again because I almost kind of want to, like, it was a weird thing where it's like I was looking at this and I'm like, a 2016, 2015 version of myself would do a deep dive into this and make a video about it because it's weird and interesting. But I don't know how to feel about this because she goes on a tirade to say, because people call her out all the time for like exploiting autism, like for views and stuff. And here's the weird thing. She doesn't just post video. She posts videos of her daughter, but she also takes videos from other people who have autism and posts them on her channel too.
Okay.
So it's just thinking about the Mr. Beast thing and like people giving out money. It just reminded me of that, where it's like, I don't know how to feel about that at all. Because like, I don't like the exploitation of somebody in that circumstance, somebody who may not have the full, because the mother is adamant, like up and down, left and right. This person, like my daughter has the cognitive ability to be able to tell me yes or no. And I am doing this not against her will is what she says. Right.
Okay.
But you watch these videos and they're just like, it's like the things that are happening in them, the way that this poor girl is trying to communicate just conveys that like, no, honey, I don't think she can consent. Like, I don't think that she like really can, but it's hard because that's the mother. So if anybody was going to know, it would be the mother. Right. So like, how do you feel about that?
Not necessarily. Because
what do you mean?
Okay. So I have seen parents, and and with children who are challenged, okay, that are nonverbal and have problems with motor skills, right? And they are in a world of denial, okay? There's no way that the child is able to communicate other than basic functions, right? I'm hungry. I need to go to the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
Things of that nature, right? Maybe they can yes, I want to watch this program, right? They have some way to communicate that yes, I want to watch this show or listen to this song or whatever, that type of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so is that necessarily what's going on here? That this
it's
this
grunts of
adult,
confirmation and stuff.
yes,
But it's
this,
like, but I don't.
but
to me, yeah. Go
here's
ahead.
the thing, right? So if this child or adult child or whatever doesn't have the motor skills to be able to do a lot of these TikTok dances and things of that nature, but still, then you have to ask yourself, okay, because we don't know, right? We don't know. They speculate that a lot of times that people with autism that are nonverbal, they speculate that they're like trapped inside of the body, and they have the ability to reason and to
Articulate, but it's like in their brain.
yes,
Yeah.
but they cannot convey it. They don't have the wherewithal to be able to verbally or physically or whatever communicate what it is that they're wanting to do, right?
Well,
So that's what they
yeah.
speculate, but they don't know. Again,
Well, can I
yeah,
counter that a little bit just
yeah,
by
yeah, yeah, go
saying
ahead.
that like
Yeah, yeah,
there are plenty of people who are fully like within unimpairment, right? People who are not impaired,
sure.
who don't think like, and what I mean by that is like internal monologue. Are
Yes,
you familiar
yes,
with like that idea,
yeah,
that term?
yes,
Like, not to get like all neurodivergent, blah, like because
yeah,
I don't like that kind of shit. But like, it is true that there is a thing of like if you're a cognizant person, if you're a
yeah,
fully cognizant individual,
yeah,
somebody who's not an NPC, then you should have some level of like internal monologue that happens within you. And what that means is that if you're at an intersection, you're walking up on a sidewalk in an intersection, there's an internal monologue in your brain to go, okay, I got to stop here and I got to look both directions before I cross the road. Like it's not like a words in your it's not like you're imagining yourself talking to yourself in your brain necessarily. It's just connecting the neurons between two things.
yes,
And what I'm saying is that like, so it could be the case. I believe that there are people in that state who
yeah,
maybe have that, like maybe have the ability to have full-fledged thoughts within their
yep,
brains. But then I think about the larger society and I just go, I don't know if most people have that. Like I don't know if like
exactly,
there's a lot of people out there that have that.
yeah,
So it's like for you to just assume that somebody has that within them because you have it
yeah,
is like it may not be the case. How many like because what to me it's like I don't know anything about a lot of this stuff. I
yeah,
look at the girl that I'm talking about in these shorts
mhm,
and I compare her to, for instance, like Ricky Berwick, and
yeah,
it's like I see the lights are on with Ricky Berwick. This is
sure,
a guy. You could
yes,
talk to him, you could have a conversation. He's
100%,
there. Like
yeah,
he might be impaired in some ways, but he's there. But I see this girl and I go, "Oh man, I don't know. Like, no offense, but it might be vegetable soup up there." Like,
yeah.
and I don't say that like I'm not trying to make a funny. Like,
No,
I
no,
feel
no.
really
But
bad. I wish it
yeah,
wasn't the case.
she just doesn't possess the mental ability to really understand what's going on around her and
Right.
how to, yes. And I don't disagree. And I'll say this, right? I see parents exploit their kids all the time. And it doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
kid that's challenged. You can have
There's
a
too many
healthy,
channels that do it.
yeah, there's a healthy, normal kid, and parents exploit them because two things. One, the child says, "Hey, I want to do this, whatever else." Now, the parent wanting the natural reaction for a parent should be, "No, because I want to protect you." Because guess what? The internet is not necessarily a safe place for kids to be on, right? So I think a normal parent would say, "No, you're not going to be on the internet. No, you're not going to be TikTok videoing, or
Yeah.
Instagramming, or none of this other stuff." And but then you
Yes.
have parents, and we actually covered this. We actually did a video where there was a mother who is in the I don't know what you would call it, but she like tattooing and all that. She's really into big tattooing and stuff, right? And she started having her little boy, baby boy, who's like, I mean, like 1 or 2 years old here, right? Where she started getting the temporary tattoos done on him rather, right? And had all
Mm.
this, and he has his own like Instagram channel, and now he has these brand deals where he has like all these shoes and all these really expensive clothes, and he has all these expensive necklaces and chains. And she will go into this tattoo parlor, and they will do a tattoo out on him or whatever, and she goes out and does these photo shoots. That is 100%. And she talks about how, he's a little man and he's this and he's that and whatever. And he has a nickname for him and stuff, right? That to me is 1000% exploitative. And you're
Yeah, it's
using
child
your
abuse.
child to make money for yourself. That's all
Yep.
you're doing.
Yep.
And this
I mean,
child who is a baby, how can you sit there and say he enjoys it? How can you sit there and say he likes this? He doesn't possess the ability to make those kinds
yeah.
of choices.
Well, that's what everybody always says, and I know this is like a hot topic thing apparently to say, but like for fuck's sake,
Yeah.
kids can't consent. Like that even
No,
means to their parents they cannot consent. Like
exactly.
there is a level of protection that we need for the youth. Innocence is a very important thing to keep, and people don't understand that. It's something that once gone, you can't get back.
Yeah.
And it just happens all too much in like today's society. That like yeah, my heart bleeds for kids in that circumstance because as we know, like people who like kids who are brought up within the entertainment industry end up some of the most fucked up people ever. Like just they it's my heart I feel so bad. This is why like watching this channel with this lady and her daughter like just it gave me such a pause and it made me so confused because I really legitimately didn't know how to feel because I'm like I don't know these people. Like it could be that maybe this is just a bad day for her daughter and on a good day where she could articulate herself more like she did say, "Hey, mom, I want to have a YouTube channel. I want like," but at the same time, like what you're saying, it's like maybe she's not even fully cognizant enough to understand, and maybe the mom has to be the actual adult, like fully fledged, person in this circumstance to say, "I'm sorry, honey, but no." I have family who is autistic, and their mom is like that. They're like, "I'm sorry, but no, you're not going on social media," because she doesn't want her daughter to be exploited. And like at first, like our family honestly got really weirded out by that. We got really like, oh, like, like, I don't know, like maybe you should allow her to have a Facebook. Like it's Facebook, let her socialize with people. But honestly, she has been proven right like 10 times over.
Yeah.
And so the family has like really apologized to her for that because it's like, yeah, man, this social media thing is no joke. And I mean, it could be very well, it because like my cousin is she's very cognizant, but she's also very autistic. So she could very easily end up in like some like Tumblr forum or whatever, and her whole worldview can be completely different from what it is right now, just because she was interacting with some people. So I mean, there's all sorts of like like aspects to this that people don't really understand. Like you don't want to make your kids available to all of this stuff. Like it's not good. In my opinion, I don't think that anybody should be able to start a YouTube channel until I want to say 16, like because like I think that's probably when it's about time where it's like, okay, maybe you can start trying to talk for yourself. But I almost want to say maybe 18 or maybe even 20.
18.
Because
legal adult.
Yeah.
18.
I think you might be right. Like it's hard because I started content when I was like 15 and it did really well for me. Like I was able to make like a good amount of money off of it and make a decent career, for a while. So it's hard because like I don't want to be the guy that's pulling up the ladder necessarily. So that's the only reason why I don't go all the way there. But I think there's a huge argument to make. And I would honestly, anybody who wants to get into content creation or entertainment in general, I would say enjoy your childhood. Okay. Become an adult and then get into entertainment.
I'll tell you, this is how we handled it with my sons. Okay. So, when my sons were 15, around 15 or so, and they got to where, okay, so now they can start learning to drive and so forth, right? That's when we got them a phone, right? Because they're not only that, but they're starting to do more. They're going out with friends and hanging out, whatever. So we wanted them to have the means by which to contact us if they needed to, like they were doing sports, like I'm on my way home, come pick me up, that type of stuff, right?
Right.
So we wanted that, okay. And we had tracking on them so we could track the little butts too, right? So if they said they were going somewhere, we'd know exactly where they were going. Now, so then that brings up, okay, so now they have this mobile device that has a data plan on it. Now they can have access to like Facebook and
social media.
Back then I think it was like Instagram, maybe, and Facebook and stuff, right? And so our stipulation to them was this, that they could only befriend their schoolmates, right? Or family members, on that, right? Did not want them trying to befriend teachers, did not want them trying to befriend, other just random adults.
Right.
It had to be a family member, or it had to be one of their whatever. And not only that, but at any given time, the mother I1 would tell them, hand me your phone. They had to immediately hand it to us and not go, so we could go through the DMs and what have you to make sure that they were not, doing anything that was inappropriate. I will say that my wife was a lot more proactive about that than I was about, give me your phone, right? She was all the time, give me your phone, give me your phone. And there was a time or two where, they're teenage boys. They were doing
they're going to step outside the bounds. They're going to draw a box and they're going to want to step outside the box. That's just what it happens.
Exactly. And so, they would lose access to, whatever. I had things in place on their computers that filtered it, right? Filtered the internet. Didn't allow them to go to certain things and certain websites. The only one, the more prolific user, which actually was my youngest one, who winds up actually doing IT work stuff now, he would get really upset and mad because he would try to go to websites that had like cheat codes and how to, for like different video games and stuff, right?
And their market is explicit.
And they would have like explicit ads and stuff on the side. Not the site themselves weren't bad, but the advertisements and stuff a lot of these places would have. And so it'd get blocked and stuff, and it would, this one particular thing would make this real large barking sound, right?
Oh no, so he'd get barked at and then he's embarrassed.
And then, and so he would go in, and he was so smart, he would figure out how to go in there and delete the sound, right? But it would automatically reinstall it and download it because it was, off the cloud. It would pull it right back down again. And he's like, Dad, can you please turn off the barking? I'm like, no, son, I can't.
Denied the cheat codes.
Denied. And so I said, he goes, well, all I'm doing is going cheat codes. I said, I get that, son. I understand you're not doing anything wrong because you go and I can look at the logs and all that, and I would.
Yeah.
And I said,
that's
but
funny.
but here's the thing, right? At this point, it's just funny to me because it's torturing you.
Right.
And so the bark stays there. And he's like, you're such a butthole. I said, yes, I am.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that scene from Lion King where Simba and Mufasa are looking out at the Pride Lands and Mufasa goes, all of this is under your domain. All of this will be, you will be the king of all of this.
Yeah.
And then what does Simba do? As soon as he looks at all of the nice, big, beautiful, golden pastures, he looks at the one place he can't go to, the elephant graveyard. He goes, Dad, but what about that? And Mufasa's like, fuck you, you little pissant. Why why can't it just be good enough just to be right here? Why you got to do that? And then the very next scene, Simba's out there at the elephant graveyard.
Oh yeah.
Like that's just the nature of being a kid. Like it's so funny because like you got to have boundaries like that. There are too many. I see too many. I'll say this. Given my background, given like how online I've been and involved with social medias on various levels, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of like dealing with YouTubers who had lots of notoriety and seeing their rises and their falls and all that. Like my perspective on it is that when I have kids, I am going to try everything I possibly can to keep them off of social media and to try to convince them that it's not good to do that unless they are much older. And even then it's like, hey, don't like, because this like posting selfie thing that people I've been trying to get better at it myself, because I don't know, I have self-image problems, so I'm trying to use that as like a tool. But like I can't stand all these people who are on like Instagram who just take like nothing but selfies with like their makeup and like filters on and all this stuff. It's an inflated sense of reality that isn't real. It's not accurate. It's not true. You're living a lie to other people on the internet and yourself. And the thing is that kids don't have a good perspective for what reality is. Kids want to be fucking unicorns when they're younger. They don't know that unicorns aren't a thing, let alone that they can't become one.
Exactly.
So it's a scary place out there. So I believe, parents should track their kids. They should be careful with their kids.
100%.
Especially if their kids have fucking cognitive problems.
Without a doubt. All right, so we got a caller. You feel like talking to Zero?
Yeah, let's go.
Sure. How you doing, Zero?
Hey, Zero.
Hold on, let me mute your stream so I don't get an echo.
Okay.
No worries.
I just wanted to say that back to what you were talking about with that girl and her mom, D-Mac, what you said about how you felt like, no, she shouldn't be consenting, that tells me a lot. Like, not all parents always have their child's best interest at heart. And if you felt like she shouldn't have been able to consent, then she probably shouldn't have.
Right. Well, that was my sense of it. And like I said, it's like, it's hard because you don't want to speak for the parent. Like the parent has known this person their entire life, like literally. So you can't, like, you're in this weird position. Like, that's why I just ultimately just decided to drop it all together and just like, okay, I'm not touching this. I'm not going to watch any
because you
videos
can't
like
tell the
channel.
parent, hey, you're wrong, because they're the parent.
Yeah. So it's a weird feeling. Like, and honestly, this kind of thing happens. I used to work at Disney World. I used to be an attractions host for Big Thunder Mountain, the wildest ride in the wilderness, and I would do the accent and all that stuff. But there was a few times where I saw that with like parents getting their kids on roller coasters, and it puts you into this really weird situation where you're the attendant. Your whole role, your first most important thing that Disney tells you when you get like indoctrinated into the mouse
It would be the
cult.
safety of the children riding,
Yes,
right?
safety is the first key.
Yeah.
And so it's the safety of the kid. So what are you supposed to do if this kid, which I was in this circumstance, I was the person who was pressing the button to make the car go, like for the ride, and this kid was flipping their lid, flipping out.
Oh man.
Like just wildly not sitting down in the car, like trying to stand up on the seat, like, and like obviously did not want to get on this ride, but the mom was like, no, honey, you can do this. It's okay. Like you gotta, like the mom was trying to make this a learning experience, but in the meantime, making a traumatic experience for everybody around them in the line and everybody
not
else
only that,
who's in
but
the car
that's
with them.
traumatic for the child too, because it's in a public place.
Well, because God forbid something bad happens where in the scuffle, like he gets if he falls into the track, now we've got to press the e-brake. It's going to be a whole thing to get him out. Is like you got to call somebody. So it's like my mind is racing in this moment where I'm like, what do I do? Like what is my role here? Because you can't yell at a parent to stop, like to treat their kid a different way.
Were you by any means within your power to terminate that ride and say this ride's not going? Was that within your power to do that?
I couldn't, like, to me, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm definitely under no circumstances pressing this button unless this kid's butt is in the seat for at least 5 seconds. I'm not going to do it. Like, I can't. Like, morally, I cannot.
Well, no, but I meant, was there anything in your job description or rules of your job that would allow you to say, based on what you saw, I'm not allowing this ride to go because you're not being safe?
There's nothing like it's not like anybody said specifically at any time you can just evict somebody from the ride. Like it wasn't one of the, as far as I know, I probably had that authority to do that, but What ultimately ended up happening was thankfully there was like a coordinator like that was kind of
Oh,
close
okay.
by. So it took about like 30 seconds or something of like this whole thing kind of playing off and me going, like kind of looking at this. And
Right.
before I finally like looked around and like there's a booth like very close by there that has a lot of like has like cameras for all around the rides and stuff so that we know if somebody's on the tracks. So I basically called over to like one of my coordinators, like, hey, can you help us out with this? Because they're the authority. They actually have the ability to be able to
Right.
evict somebody from the park if they
I
want
see.
to.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I ended up doing in that moment. But if it lied on me, if it was just me and there was nobody else to be able to get me out of that, yeah, I probably would have tried to have like get like, all right, you can't, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So
And regarding that and the other girl as well,
yeah.
I'm a parent myself of a special needs child who is
Mm.
a child with issues like I had as a child.
Mm.
And I would never do something like that. If I even remotely felt like my child was uncomfortable, I'd be like, okay, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
But see, that's
I mean,
that's the problem, though, right? There's a lot of parents out there, unfortunately, Zero, that refuse to accept the fact that their child may have limitations or restrictions, and they want to force them to be included in every aspect of things, even past the child's comfortability or just ability to do, to participate. Because to
This is
them, it's
exactly why I said
yeah,
not every parent
yeah,
has their child's best interest at heart.
exactly.
yeah.
And go ahead, Max. I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to make the point that there is a difference between trying to normalize your child to society with an issue and making a
Mhm.
spectacle.
Right. Right. Yeah, making a
It's
scene is a big difference between
yes, yeah. Like the
when you
difference,
reach the point where you're making a scene, you're doing something wrong.
well,
That's how I see it.
yeah, no, and I agree with that. My point is more like, okay, I used to play soccer. I'll make this short. I know I go on tangents, but like I used to play soccer, and one of the kids on my soccer team had a disability of
Uh-huh.
some sort, like something that was impairing them from being able to perform the sport
Right.
at the same level of all of the other kids, And I always felt kind of awkward about it because whenever he was on the field with us, it was like the other players on the other team kind of had to play lightly.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't really go
Oh,
all the
I
way. Like
see.
there was definitely like there were times where they would go all the way and then he would get hurt and then it would be a thing. Like so
Right.
it's this weird zone where it's like I believe everybody should be given a chance. I think if you want like I don't want to be the asshole who's saying like, "Hey, I'm sorry, little Jimmy with no hand. You can't play baseball. You just can't do it.
Right.
You got to have
Right.
two
Right.
hands to play baseball." I don't want to be that asshole, but at the same time, it's kind of the reality, you know?
Yeah.
So like that's the hard thing too. And that's what I saw with this woman where it's like she wants desperately for this girl, for her daughter to be a normalized person in society. But the problem is that this is not an issue of like society just views her as different. The reality is she just is different. So of
Well, not
course
only that, but
society and
the
reality is gonna
mother is blinding herself to
yes.
reality by
That's why
doing
it's
that.
so sad. That's why it's like it's so sad for me to watch because like I know like it's sad on both ends. It's sad on the girl's end, like the daughter of like, oh, this is such an unfortunate thing. Like I just wish the best for this person. I hope this person has a
Right.
decent life for all of this, But at the same time, like her mother, who is, in my opinion, doing something that's kind of morally wrong, like looking at that and going, like I just feel bad for her too because I get it. Like if I were in that circumstance, I would want to try to blind myself to that as well, but it's still wrong, you know.
Right.
So
But anyway, Zero, thanks for calling in, buddy. I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
no problem. That was
And
all I had to say anyways. So
yeah, you have a great day, man.
yep,
thanks,
you
Garrett.
too.
Have a good one.
All right. So, Max, I think I'm going to wrap things up.
Wrap it up.
Yep. I do appreciate
All
you
right.
calling in. And I do
Yep.
appreciate you, or more importantly, your daughter's sister explaining that,
This is still her, by the way. This is still the daughter/sister speaking
listen,
the entire time. They have been dead.
I have one trail or one track that I can get on. I can't do multiple tracks at once. Okay. So,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you, the daughter / sister of Max, for coming on today and explaining
No
everything.
problem. No problem, people. Yes, I shall be back anytime you require.
So anyway,
All right,
I
people.
appreciate
Have a
it.
good one. Go watch Now Recording. Go sub to Now Recording. We're almost at 1,000. Bye. Love you, people.
Bye. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, 100%. Go check out the Now Recording. We linked that earlier. Let's see here. Can I pull that up again here real quick before I get out of here? Now Recording. Here we go. Control C and Control V. There we go. Anyway, there we go. So there's Now Recording. Go check them out. If you haven't subbed, please do sub. They are entertaining, and like I say, if you are getting into the quote commentary community genre of the internet, or if you're interested in that type of stuff, they are definitely one of the bigger spokes in this community, and I do highly recommend that you check them out. There's lots of other really good creators as well, that are people you should check out. Ziley Gets Real is another good one. Tommy C, Dead on Dave, Nerdy John. There's a multitude of podcasts that have sprung up over the last few months too. We've got Whammon Recording, the Broadcast. You can find me on Sunday afternoons with Banana Grabber over on the Clear as Mud podcast. There's just a lot of content out there, and all of it's very good content, and all of it is different. Even though sometimes we will cover some of the same content as far as same subject matters, right? It's always different because you have different perspectives, you have different opinions, and sometimes there'll be some overlapping, right? But there's still different views and opinions that are being put forth. So definitely check these guys out. Throw them some support, sub to them. If they have memberships and you can afford, please become members to their channels. That's a really good way to month in and month out support your favorite content creator. But anyway, on that note, I appreciate Max calling in and explaining to us what his demise, I guess. Thanks for Zero for calling in as well. Thank you guys all for tuning in this morning. I appreciate you. Go have a great day. Maybe even, the weather's getting a little bit better. Maybe even go out to a park, have a picnic sandwich or something today with your favorite IRL person, right? And that's always a good thing too. Don't have to just totally exist online. But anyway, until next time, remember guys, keep your powder dry, and I'll see you in the funny papers.